the great John Dunigan, and we were getting ready to discuss maybe a couple of your recent lessons where we could apply some of your techniques to help people change, right? And I think we were getting ready to talk about one of your students. Is there any that come to mind that you could share with us?
Well, I believe we were talking about a young person who she's one of my faves.
Yes.
She's an avid golfer. She's about a six handicap, and she has been struggling, man. And she's pretty good. Now, I've known her for a long time, and true to form, the first thing I asked her was, "Well, what are you paying attention to?" She goes, "I'm not hitting the ball solid."
Hmm.
Okay. And she's thinning some and fatting some, and what would we think? And her answer to what were you paying attention to? Because what you pay attention to must work the vast majority of the time. Nothing works all the time. Well, she goes, "Well, I'm paying attention to my shift." And I go, "Cool. Toward what purpose?" And she goes, big smile, "I don't know."
Yeah.
And I go, "Huh, okay." Well, then we go back over, okay, well, this game of golf requires us to hit the ball, then the turf, and the ball's in the turf. We don't have to take deep divots, and my girls are trained to take quite shallow divots. I call it giving the grass a haircut
Right.
because they don't have enough speed to hit way down on it, but they have to hit down enough to get that leading edge low enough to pop the ball up. So I tell her the reason that we shift like that is to move where you land your airplane to the other target side of the golf ball. She goes, "Oh." I said, "Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we not focus on any of that hot body of yours and just focus on landing the airplane in the right spot?" And she goes, "Okay." And she starts hitting it solid. And I go, the thing is, this shift that you have worked on, this body motion, has been burned in. You've been doing a great job of that, but it doesn't make the club land in the right spot. It
Hmm.
helps it, but it doesn't make it. And a lot of times, our students, they are so thoroughly involved with the mechanics that they forget what is the end goal of the mechanic,
Sure.
right? To
Yeah.
move the club better. So, and I saw her, she beat her husband twice in the last week since round one of our pod, which is
Nice.
very, very, he's a baller too.
Yeah.
But so she's back where she belongs. And it was a horrible lesson if you're used to giving or taking golf lessons because I didn't teach her anything at all. You know, just helped her explore the low point. And it's just a little different take. Now, it could have gone sideways,
Hmm.
right? That might not have worked. And then we'd have you and me would have 12 more things in the back pocket ready at the disposal. But I'm getting old. You ain't quite as old as me, but I'm getting pretty good at picking the right thing right away.
Sure.
So that golf lesson. Very, very good golf lesson, but very little teaching going on. Just a
So
whole lot of
so
learning.
curious. Did you like? How did you show her exactly where she
Oh,
needed to land the plane? Did you put something out in front of the ball? Did you
oh,
point at it with your finger? Like what?
yeah. All I did was say, "Hey, you're hitting here. Hit it over here more."
Okay, is that easy? Yeah.
Yeah, it's I was telling somebody about one day my daughter hit the first two drives in the rough,
Mhm.
right, which she didn't do very normally. And then she hit every other fairway the rest of the 18. And I go, "Dude, what did you do?" She goes, "I hit it lefter."
That's right. Yeah.
That's a good enough answer for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I did now today before you and I got together, I had a lesson where, and this is, remember, 90% of my business is the competitive golfer.
Yeah.
And this is a not competitive golfer, but really loves it. And we actually just put the low point number in TrackMan up.
Mm.
I said, "Okay, see this B? That means you're hitting the wrong ball first. And we need to move this to where you hit the little ball, then the big ball, earth." And she was able to start doing it. And then we had to give her a little bit of coaching, and she really liked the idea. I'll stand up for a second if
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
okay
for
with
sure.
you.
Yep.
So moving around, folks, you have to be patient with us. If you're, like Jason said, you're going to want to watch some of this stuff.
Yeah. I'll try to describe to the audience a little bit
All right, so
of what
here
you're
she
doing.
is, and I had her go from here. We're good there, right?
Yep.
And I said, okay, listen, what I want you to do is I want you to kind of pick up your left foot a little tiny bit, and I want you to just step in and hit. And she goes, "Ooh, I like that."
Mm.
Right? I go, "Cool."
Yeah.
And that was it. Just step in. And I usually tell people I want to hear that foot land. And now you and me know that there's some right foot pushing off to help us get there too.
Sure.
But this gave her a little odd audio
Mm.
feedback.
Yeah.
I can hear it. Plus, when we're doing that, you can hear it relative to when the ball got struck.
Sure.
So if we hear click, then thud, well, no good. But if we hear thud, click, and I will cue people like that a lot, where I'll give them a verbal cue that has a cadence and a timing to it. That goes
Yes.
back to my, music major. Yes, you can major in classical guitar music. I don't know if I recommend it. I teach golf now, but it's like one click thump, and now that gives them a sense of the timing of it, which is really super. I find that super helpful
Yeah,
for people.
what he's describing there, or what he's doing, as I describe it, is sort of a half a backswing, and just pick the left foot up, put it back down. So it's
Yeah.
basically the timing of the pressure shift that starts down, right? So we've found using the pressure plates that that lateral shift happens very early downswing, right? It's like P4.5 or whatever, and people they tend to be late, don't they? Most of
Very
the time.
late,
Yeah, the
very
timing of
late.
it's is probably as much as the magnitude of the force is like the timing of the force is
Right,
huge.
right. Yeah, I'll try to get. So I do a lot of step drills. Like when we were down there in Hilton Head, I
Mm-hmm.
showed some of my daughters cool step drills that she would do, and that starts to create this idea of the shift business is happening on the way back, just like a
Yes.
baseball pitcher throwing a ball.
Mm-hmm.
Which is and I do use a lot of analogies like the hey, if you had to throw a ball, and I go, especially if any like I have another guy who is kind of struggling, and he's when we once we hit that 60 years of age, we you have to really want to try to do something radically different
Mm-hmm.
to get better. But I said, did you ever throw a ball, dude? Because he would go up to the top of the backswing and played baseball all through high school. I think he might have played in college. I said, did you ever throw a ball? And he's like, yes, idiot. I go, well, right now in golf, well, you'd pick up the ball, you would be swinging your arm backward as you started the shift and unwind, and the last thing you do is throw. But somehow in your golf swing, you're going to the top of the backswing and you are swinging the club first, and then you actually don't move your lower body at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that ain't good. So we get them playing with that stuff, and I just love it. Like the swinging start drill, where we keep continuous swing, where you can see that it's 1, 2, 3. So it's right, left swing, and the club is swinging. I got moving to the right. The club swings before the club is done. I start moving to the left, and he does that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden his dynamic loft improves dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
That's big because he hits it too high. And now he's out there hitting his 8 iron 150 plus, which is really cool. And it was just that simple analogy. Like you need to be moving a little bit more like you're supposed to be moving there, young lad.
You
And
ever
that
use
was pretty cool.
the Dr. Quan rope for that?
I have the rope.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I use
I
that.
did a lesson today where I used the rope and used the
Yeah.
step drill with the rope.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And so I do that. I do like to have them do the step drill with a club in the way because, well, just this evening, I told you'll love this, or the golf pros that listen will love this. I told no, this is an actual young kid. He's 12 years old, 11 years old. I said, stop taking practice swings. He's like, looks over at his dad, like, did you hear what the wacko said? And I said, son, we're at practice. These are all practice swings. Your job is to make that swing with the golf ball in the way because the world's full of good practice swings, right?
Yeah.
So then I get him to go, forget the practice swing. This put a ball in the way and make your practice so-called swing so he can get somewhere. And it's really cool. Now, by the way, just so you know, like from our Skill Coaching Alliance, and even it's in the practice coach. There is a module working on my swing where you get some of the will woo magic of this motor learning science, where I had the dad actually help because he has two boys, and both, I think they're 2 years apart,
Hmm.
and one has really started growing, the other one hasn't yet. But I said, okay, Dad, I'm gonna go over here. This is what you're gonna do. Okay, you're gonna say, okay, son, what one are you gonna give me now? Do you want to do it? Do you want to do it ideal, wicked exaggerated, or a little exaggerated? And the kid would choose. And the first time he hits it, and Dad goes, no, no, that was just ideal. And I go, Dad, shut up. You're supposed to ask him what he thought,
Uh-huh.
right? What
Yeah.
did you think it was? And now, okay, let's see if you could do, this little Goldilocks. Let's do a little bit more, right? And it turned out the dad learned how to coach his own son, right? But what dad do you know isn't dying to do the work for the kid?
Oh yeah.
No,
All of
no,
them.
like this, all
Yeah.
of them. But that's
Yeah.
that ain't learning, right? That is just
Exactly.
not learning. So we gotta give the dads. I think we might have talked about that
Mm.
during the not my session down Hilton Head was, we have to train up the dads and the
Yeah.
moms to
Right.
do right because they're going to be there anyway. We're not going to remove their influence. We just have to help shape it better. So
Yeah.
that was a really cool lesson.
So go through the lesson. We talked about it, I think, at the workshop where you had the stick in your belt, and we're talking about
Ah,
getting a little more depth, which is the typical. I don't know. I can't remember if it was actually an older gentleman or not. Maybe it was a little bit. These are the lessons that I give on the daily: is getting
hmm
people to move their pelvis and shallowing the club, or let's. He was swinging too far to the left. So just go through how you would change that player
okay.
to help them
Well,
draw
I
the ball.
have my trusty stick. Now, an
Perfect.
old friend of ours, his name is Don Parsons, said many, many, gosh, I've known him for an awful long time. I think I've getting to the point where I've known pretty much everybody for an awful long time. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah, everybody knows you.
So Dom said, you control the pelvis, you control the swing. Now, an interesting thing would happen that when I tilt the pelvis, the spine tilts.
Hmm.
So, like when we're trying to get people to stay down in their posture, you might better look at their hiney because if the pelvis tilt isn't there, neither is the side bend
Mm.
that they're trying to get to. But that's okay. So here we are trying to get a guy to get from the inside. I did this just the other day again. And the poor golfer he's in his 60s. He has no upper body wind up in his backswing. Right. So he never gets any depth of the club in the hands because he has no turn.
Right.
I said, well, you're trying to slice it. He goes, well, not really. I go, well, your golf ball says that's exactly how to slice a golf ball with that golf club.
Mhm.
And so I could go the litany of how to's, right? But I just give him the stick. I just give him the stick. Now, here's an example.
So he's got to stick through his two belt loops in the front of his pants so the listeners know what's going on.
Now, can you see this? This is a mic
Yeah.
stand.
Yep, I can see it.
Cool. So now, guess what? I get a little auditory feedback,
Oh, so
right?
he's got the mic stand behind his right hip.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Now, you got to make sure it's the right height and you get far enough away. And now for this one here, I'm going to go, okay, listen, we're going to move it like this, but you do not get to swing if you don't hear the stick hit the other stick. So we go back. I got there. Okay, there we go.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
I
great.
heard it. Now I can swing. So that's like I'm not teaching the person how to move. I think the motor learning science is pretty clear on we shouldn't teach people how to move, right? I don't know how I did that. I just hit the stick on that. Now I might observe my knees did something, my feet did something,
Hmm.
but those weren't the cause. That's my wonderful brain, old shaky brain. That's my brain knows how to move to give me what I want. Right? Conscious mind sets the goals. Subconscious works out how to meet them. So now I've got some good stuff there. Right? Now, I could go like this. I could go if I have enough of this, I could go back here and now stay on it and shift.
Yeah,
So
that's the
you
key.
see
Like
that?
the downs. Yeah, like so he's keeping his right hip back
Yep. So
as he
it's got to
shifts
stay on that
pressure.
thing,
Yep.
shift, and then let the club swing. There's nowhere else to go but inside. Right? It's just it's almost ridiculously easy to change that movement. It's sort of like when we get all this fixed in the motor patterns. I go like this. So when you drove here today, did you turn your car to the left at all? Yes. Did you turn to the right at all? Okay, fine. Those are parameters, not motor patterns, if you really want to know. But you have to be flexible enough to control your body movement, right? But you don't do it in the way of I need to externally rotate my trail shoulder,
Mm.
right? I'm going to hold up the pizza tray, right? I got my club on the pizza tray here, and now I've got my external rotation. We have different ways of getting people to move differently without thinking about how to do it. I think that's the thing. I had a very good just texting conversation with a well-known person the other day, and it's like all these folks have told me what I do wrong and what I need to do. I go, yes, I get that, but that's not the teaching part. The teaching part is coaching you through moving differently, and that's I would consider that uh, part of my absolute specialty is changing someone's movement very effortlessly and really super
You,
quickly.
you talked about in your talk a few weeks ago about Mike Hebron, right? It's like he kind of went through that sort of evolution because I've read all his
Yeah,
books. I think he's brilliant. The last one I think was "Stop Teaching Me, I'm Trying to Learn." You remember that one?
I love that.
Yeah, yeah. What have you learned from Mike, and
Well,
what do you
number
think about his
one,
stuff?
I think that for one, Mike is a friend, and I really am very fond of him. Um, Mike, as far as I know, was one of the first people, maybe Lynn and Pia, right? But that actually looked into how humans actually function rather than how golf swing mechanics work.
Hmm.
And so he said, so I read all his books as well. I saw him speak.
Yeah,
We've seen him. I've got to talk to him so many times that I just love it. So he was going in, he's ahead of me for damn sure on this kind of figuring out how people operate in a he would call it brain compatible manner. Right. So that's again, hands off instruction, but have them explore the the workspace of doing these different things, right? And so that they learn. And that we're trying, and I think Mike uses this, we're trying to create aha moments
yeah.
in people, right? Oh, I got that. It's one of those things where I just think I owe him a debt of gratitude, just like um, Rick Jensen.
Sure.
You know, like those guys were so influential on me. It was really cool. And I think the problem that I have is that with us golf pros, is I think there's a little too much thinking that we know everything. And then people will kind of push aside Mike because he's out there
Yeah.
because he's out there so far ahead of them. He went from the just like me, golf
Yeah.
machine,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah. Big
And
golf machine guy.
right, and I went from that, which is a great basis. But then it turns out There's a lot more leeway in a golf swing. There's only a few absolutes. You should hold the grip end of the club as one of those absolutes. Hit the ball first, but there's a lot of variant characteristics, and we're
Hmm.
interested in the invariant ones, the ones that you pretty much have to, as a human, accomplish in order to move a club through the golf ball effectively.
Yep. So going to your last lesson that you discussed there. So
Mhm.
he leaves you. How are you instructing him to practice? And then if you want to share some of the things that's in the practice
Oh
app
yeah,
and like how it works, I think that would be super helpful. Like how are you going to make sure he's going to stay on task?
right. So his thing is he's going to use video because as all you golf pros out there and golf people know, your feel sucks, right? So you got to use video, and he's using the stick as well. All right. And we have that idea. So now remember, when the golf balls goes in, we got to slide this right end. I'm a right hander
Yeah.
up to right to the belt loop. So I don't, if I hit my arm on the end of that stick, we're going to have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
That takes a big scrape. Yes, I've done it. So now he goes like this. He turns the stick on the backswing, right? So he's turning the stick out toward right field, and he's going to shift it out toward first base. So he's going to turn it and shift it that way. And he can feel that. And I might go, okay, now listen, just for the start of this, your cue is the stick points down the fairway at the end,
Hmm.
no rotation,
Ah,
right?
yeah.
Well, that's because the poor boy is just spinning top
Yeah.
out of the golf ball, right?
Yep.
So there's a destination, right? So I like to say a golf swing goes from here to there,
Hmm.
right? I go from here, pointed out to there. And now that is extreme hook.
Yeah.
And we might go slower. No, we always go slower.
I was going to ask you, like, are you going to have him do some like exaggerated, like slow or swings to
Yeah.
feel it? And like, how do
Yep.
you, what would you prescribe as far as like the cadence of that? Like, is it so many practice swings slow, then hit too many, how many balls, and then
Yeah, I
repeat?
would I would do a few practice swings, not
Hmm.
very many.
Yeah.
Once I see the right motion and the person sees the right motion, then we put the ball in right away. Sometimes I don't have any in here. I have bigger balls,
Hmm.
foamy balls. If sometimes I say, if you're going to get better, sometimes you need bigger balls. So you put something in the way because we can't exclude the contact from the task,
Right.
right? That's the whole world's full of good practice swings, right? Then they get over to the golf ball and they go to part, completely fall apart. So anyway, he'll go to one. So it's called task simplification. Number one task simplifier is to slow down because I'd like to keep it full swing. So a lot of these folks, now I could look like a super awesome golf teacher if I take it down to a half swing. Like if I'm trying to help somebody who's a flipper,
Hmm.
take it down to a half swing. Have you ever seen anybody flip it from half?
Mm, yeah. Yeah. I have.
I haven't seen it. It's almost impossible to flip it.
Okay.
But so the problem is getting from top of backswing all the way down,
Yeah.
right? So in that case, so instead of shorten the swing, that's one method of task simplification. The other one is to slow it down. And I would say this: I don't believe in slow motion ones unless we're trying to stretch. That's a great stretch. And the reason is that the relative timing is whacked,
Hmm.
right? So it's nothing like what you're going to do with a golf ball. Um, so I'll go slower, maybe down to 75%. I'll go slow enough that the person can do it. So I won't
Gotcha.
maybe down to 75% of full
Hmm.
speed, maybe slower, but can you actually do it? And I keep asking, are you paying attention? Right? Are you paying attention? Isn't it curious that the phrase is pay attention? There's a cost.
Yeah.
So we're back here doing our thing, and he's doing his thing, and he's doing it slow. And he's got a precision destination for the end. After that path is good, and we should get with that, with a turn back, instant path improvement. Right? With the shift forward, and it's not just the hip, the whole body gets to shift toward the target. The midline of the body can shift toward the target.
Hmm.
That moves the low point forward, right? Now I got a little club face stuff in there too. I do a lot of grip changing whenever I have to.
Sure.
So we've got we'll get that movement correct. And what I like to say is swing shape in a lot of cases comes first. And the swing shape for me is path and attack angle. And the body motion either allow it, enable it, or disable it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we work on body motion without paying attention to the actual body. Now, by the way, just so you know, you can tell somebody you're not turning your hips at all. You can say that. That's not the instruction, though. The instruction is hit the stick,
Yeah. I
right?
like it. Yeah.
So as the person is behaving, right, we get to push it up a few more miles an hour. Still behaving, few more miles an hour. Still behaving, few more miles an hour. And then when we get up to somewhat reasonable speed where I'm seeing some real ball flight, we might go, okay, let's take a little breather there and add a little twisting of the club face, right? Grip change or a little club face awareness,
And
right?
that's with
So
your
that,
left wrist, left
yeah,
forearm
yeah.
feels.
My number one, yeah, that's it. But my
Yeah.
number one is I'll hold the golf club here.
Okay.
I'm holding the head. The golfer has both hands or left hand on the grip,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll resist. So this is my use of hands on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're gonna
Instead
get to
of
that.
instead of moving the golfer,
Yeah.
I say, okay, I want you to close the face. And they go, well, you're not letting me. I go, yes. But do you feel that? Well, yes, I do. There. Now we have some, right? Now the person's awareness is waking up. Right. So that's how I would do that. Then we go back to our little progression, and then also keeping in mind that the second this thing fails, I give you exaggerate one, exaggerate mo two, exaggerate way mo.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can't get it on the third exaggeration, then we have to go back in speed. We have to take some speed off. I
Yeah.
don't want them.
That was that's one of the things you talked about because I like to move people, but I like the way you discussed it, and I do both ways, which is
Mhm.
basically resistance training. I know there's an acronym that goes is I can't remember what it is. I think you mentioned it's like neurological,
Reactive.
yeah, NPR or MP
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
right? So
Reactive
basically,
neuromuscular training.
yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Or Will, by the way, we had Scott from Swing Catalyst, the biomechanist, and we got an argument. Will's like, it's proprioceptive priming.
okay,
So you're
yeah,
turning up the volume, so to speak, on the
yeah,
feel. So you're learning to feel better. And
yeah.
they refuse to come to terms. So I'll call it proprioceptive priming.
Okay, I
So
like that.
yeah, I'll
But the
do that.
basis of that is basically, like you said, like take somebody to the top. If they're opening the club face, you're going to basically move them towards the error and then make them
Right.
resist,
So
right? So they
you
have
you
to do the work is the whole gist of it.
100%.
Yeah,
Whoever does the work does the learning.
there you go.
Sorry, golf world. But I'm very proud that that's out all over the place. So the poor person is fanning the face open, and you would start with, "Yo, you're doing this. Stop doing that."
Hmm.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're just not aware of it. So then I will open their face and go resist me,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden it amplifies their feel.
Yeah.
Right, primes the perception. It's really cool.
Yeah. I get like all questions about certain training aids. It's funny. I had one of my guys today that he brings in a training aid every time he comes to a lesson just to like get my approval. And I'm like, I don't like any training aid that doesn't require you to do the work.
Hmm.
Right. It's like, yeah, throw some bands on your arms, but that's not you not doing anything because when you take the bands off, then your arms are still going to fly away. Right. It's like, I want
100%.
something that makes you actually create that feel and
Yeah.
do the work. And he's like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. It's like,
There's a free training aid for you. Instead of a band that holds your arms together, let's get a band that pulls them apart so you have to go the opposite way.
there you go.
That would
Yeah.
be the way to do it.
Yeah.
I never
That's
thought of
why
that.
I love, that's why I love, like what Tony does, a lot of us do with our band training. Do you use
Hmm.
bands at all as far as like
Yeah. Yeah.
moving people? And I'll move them in the opposite direction and make them again, like resist
Right.
a lot of times if they're sliding, I'll pull them to slide more, and so they don't slide, right? It's like
Right.
little things, like it makes you think opposite of like what we normally do, which is like move them into the perfect position, and a lot of times it doesn't stick. Might
Right. Well,
get
and
might get you like a, a 5 second feel, but then three swings later they're doing the old stuff
right.
again.
Not only that, but the big problem I have is how, when you push somebody into position so they can, air quotes, feel it, you're doing all the work. But tomorrow, yeah, and it's the 40-to-1 rule, I call it.
Hmm.
That person's going to practice for 40 hours, my kids especially, before I see them again. Right. So if I put them in position, right, you feel it, feel it. Yeah, I feel it. Well, I put them there. That was my muscles, my nervous system doing all the work.
Hmm.
Theirs wasn't. So how do I get them to recreate me pushing them into position? I
Yeah.
have to teach them to create it and how to evaluate. Again, I use video a lot. Can't trust our feel. And I think we were talking about, well, the one guy that was out there out west having a golf lesson, and he early extends, right?
Hmm.
And doesn't rotate, and he's a golf nut junkie, like you can't not believe. And we're talking about turning, and he had the treatment, the full hands-on treatment.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, so I do the same thing here. Right
With the
now,
stick.
behind me
Yeah.
here is a wall, and I said, here, all I want you to do is stick the end of the stick through the wall.
Yeah.
And I had a wall that was real close where you could actually
So
feel it.
he's describing the sticks hanging out of the left side of his pants, and
Yep.
he's telling him to point it at the wall behind the golfer on the
Right.
front side. Now we're talking about front side rotation.
Yeah. So front side rotation, and I'll show you with this guy too.
Yeah, with
I'm going to
the
use this to
stand.
mimic it.
Yep.
There's a stand. Now, how far do you want me to open at impact? How much?
30
That's over
degree.
45.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably 40,
All
40
right.
degrees, 45 degrees.
Okay. Here we go. Don't ask me how I did it. Okay, so I'm back here. It's the end of the day, so I'm a little
Yeah,
worn out. Plus, it was 105,000 degrees out today.
it was
All
hot
right, so
today.
here we go. We're turning.
Yep, just knocked over the mic stand.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
And it is that simple. Then we can use it. Did you get it done by the time you heard the golf ball hit?
Yeah.
Right. And then we can do some video. Look where you are now.
Hmm.
Right. And as I turn this way, you see my left leg is posting up. Right.
Yeah.
As I turn this way, you'll see that the left side of the stick is lifting. There is some actual pelvis tilt. Right. Left side higher. And look where my shoulder is. It's down. And I'm getting that by hitting the mic stand with a stick.
Yeah,
And I don't have to.
I think auditory cues are very underrated, but they're also difficult to create. I think that's why in some of
Mm,
the technology out there that has like the biofeedback with the beeps and whatnot, I think
yeah,
can
that's
be
cool.
very powerful, right? I mean, but when you can do it something simple like that, I mean, I think that's super powerful.
The auditory stuff is really good. Like Will does a great discussion on force cues, auditory cues, visual cues in the Skilled Coaching Alliance, which is really cool.
Hmm.
And we have coaches from around the world, a whole bunch of top 100 coaches, where he talks about, the audio might be best for timing,
Hmm.
right? But in this case, it's telling me about magnitude and timing,
Yeah,
right?
AP
So I'm getting
force and
right.
vertical force.
Yeah, all kinds of good stuff. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Right. So that's, I mean, this is one of my all-time favorites, training aid, $3.
That's
And
right.
I get an awful lot of work done with that.
Yeah. All
And
right.
like Don
So
said, yep.
what? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, like Don said, control the pelvis, control the golf swing.
Oh yeah, it's like Doctor Mark Bull says it's the GPS of the swing.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like it. I like it.
it's good. All right. So last question. You've been
Hmm.
very nice with your time. Get you back to your family. So as we get of age as we are now, we've got a lot of young coaches out there that listen to the podcast, but also, come to us for mentorship. Like,
Hmm.
what advice are you giving those young coaches in sort of their pathway? Because it's different now, obviously, than when we were coming up and, pre-social media, internet, and all that.
Yeah.
What advice are you giving the young coaches out there to get better?
All right. Number one, study something about motor learning. I would beg you to study more time on that. Maybe about how to also something about how to build connections with your students. Like I have, for some reason, ability to connect with somebody in a minute. You look them in the eye, care. It ain't that hard, right? So the other thing I would say is Jason and I and everybody that I know spent a ridiculous amount of time looking for the best way to swing a golf club. And I will tell you, approaching my 60th birthday, it doesn't exist. It is, it's like I'm trying to achieve a stable club face through impact. Oh boy. These kind of things, 27 degrees of freedom in this arm, 27 more in this arm, stable club face. I don't know. So what you're trying to do is get people to enjoy the game of golf more. So you can't just teach the mechanics of the golf swing. You have to teach them something about learning. You have to teach them about calibrating their motion, their feel, their club face to club path. You have to teach them that you have to make mistakes in order to learn. And I one of my pet peeves, um, I would not bother with before and after lessons. The pictures and stuff, like before, like and showing that on social media and stuff. I think we're giving people the wrong idea that
Mm.
you have learned something during a lesson, which is false, right? No, there's no learning during golf lesson. You have proof of concept. You might have, damn, that is working, right?
Yeah.
You might have obedience. Yes, Masa, I do what you say. That's not learning, though. Learning takes time, right? Learning takes time. Learning, you would say it's learned when it's super easy for you, takes minimal to no attention, then it's mastered, right? So look, please don't just be looking at the mechanics. Please don't. You know, for here's a for instance. Do I have to hit double digits down on my chip shots? That's the new rage now.
Yeah.
No, you can hit 7 down and be just ducky for the rest of your life.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot. I think Mike Adams. It depends. There's a lot of
Yeah.
dependent variables out there. But if, by the way, if I am not afraid to take somebody toward stack and tilt or away from it, whatever that person needs. So you want to understand the general motion of a human system. You got to understand attention though, right? We're always trying to fix things. And you haven't even asked them, like the young lady we just spoke about.
Yeah.
Well, what are you thinking about? What are you trying to do? Right? That would be a great place to start. So I guess I would get off my high horse about that, but it's more than the swing. It's about the learning.
I love it. How do you get kids to focus? Like, is there any tricks? like,
Um,
like a 12-year-old, I've worked with some really good, kids in that 12 to 15 year range or year old range, like you do, and it's like just getting
yeah,
them to not look at a squirrel running by
right,
in
right.
2 seconds
Well,
is tough.
some of those guys, right? Some of those, we need to reduce the number of balls hit
Mm.
before they're just not even there with us at all. And then I ask them, okay, to rating your focus, scale of 1 to 5,
Mm.
5 being, um, well, you'll like this, 5 being complete laser focus, and 1 being girls.
Okay.
Because we say, I just said this to, I asked my 11-year-old today, and I said, why do we practice the golf? He goes, to get the babes, coach.
That's great.
I teach him young. And I go, I don't see any pretty girls around here, so let's get paying attention now.
That's beautiful.
I use a
You,
ton of humor, tons of
yeah,
that,
I love that.
right?
All right, so last question, and you
Yep.
should be ready for it now. But if we
Mhm.
have to get a message to the world, to billions of people, and put it on a billboard, it could be a quote, it could be a saying, it could be a picture, whatever. What's your billboard going to have on it, and why?
My billboard would have something like, folks, lighten up. You're going to run out of time faster than you think, especially with this year that the boss lady, my wife Francine, and I have had this year. You're going to run out of time faster than you think. You need to lighten up and maybe take yourself a little less seriously, because pretty soon it's going to be over. And it's never going to be over when you want, I don't think. So uh, enjoy something for God's sakes. And
I love it. You're the best, man. You're a beauty. I so appreciate you and appreciate everything you're doing for other coaches now with your programs and the app. And I know it's doing well. So tell the listeners how
mm,
they can find it and how they can sign up for your program and where how to follow you too. By the way.
okay. So I'm on Instagram weekly. I'm not going to post every day, folks. I work straight through and I have a lot of time, but I do post, and I usually post something that's going to help people play better. Right? It'll be sometimes it is the dumbest. Like, hey, put your golf club back in your bag. Right? But it could be that simple.
I like your car ride little
Oh gosh,
sermons.
I forgot about those. I got
You
to
need
get
to
back
start
into
doing those
those.
again.
Yeah, those are cool. Car Side Coach. That was from the Jerry Seinfeld
Yeah.
show, Comedians and
Yep.
Cars, which I thought was phenomenal. Um, I forgot what we were talking about.
Oh,
Holy
just
cow.
your handle. It's
Oh,
John
okay. It said
dot
John
Dunigan. Is
dot
that right?
Dunigan.
Yep.
Yep. And John Dunigan Golf on Twitter. I don't do much on that one. YouTube, John Dunigan Golf. The Skilled Coaching Alliance, skilledcoachingalliance.com. That's our program for coaches to coach better. Our goal, Will wanted, there were some misunderstandings being um, perpetrated on golf coaches that he's like, no, that's not what the science says at all. So he wanted to clear that up. And I, cruising toward the back end of my career, really wanted to give something back to the game of golf. Like, I want to help young golfers. I ain't worried about you, but like if your
I always
son
need
wanted to
help.
teach golf, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
if your son wanted to teach golf and didn't have you for a dad, and he went in there and studied up that kind of stuff and knew something about, you ought to know your ball flight. You ought to know your
Right.
ball flight. That's what mandatory with my students. You better know that ball flight as well as I do. I tell them, you don't have to know what I know, but you have to understand this stuff. So that's
Yes.
why we created that, and it's done very nicely. We get some unbelievable comments like, best program in golf from a top 100 teacher, should be required to be able to teach golf in the first place by another top teacher, the national award winner. So very, very, very honored to have that. And then we created Will Woo, a PhD in motor learning. We created a practice app because we were getting completely sick of trying to write up practice plans for our people that have to be changed in a week. It's just too damn hard.
Hmm.
So we have one that uses AI, and kind of, the brain gets better because it's our brains with my golf, his motor learning science, and we get better and better practices. And the other thing is, like, my competitive golfers, they work. I don't know if I like what they do when they work,
Right. Yeah. You
but
never know.
yeah, the first thing, one of my very early first adopters goes, "This is awesome. I don't have to figure out what to do. I just turn the app on and it tells me what uh, golf skill drills to do, whether it's putting or driving." And there's some encore stuff. And there's a swing module on there where you use some of the science, and you take a video yourself, and you use some of the science on motor learning to, and we say, we're going to teach you how to learn it real good. So it better be something that you need to learn, but we'll teach you how to learn it. And we're not teaching we're not teaching the golf swing at all. So like if your son wanted, you said, hey, you got to do this, man. He could use the app and be absolutely not have any imposition from me on it. We don't want to do that. We want, because we want people who have coaches already to be able to practice
Right.
more
Makes
effectively.
sense. Yeah.
So I'm not doing swing analysis, and I don't have any time for that anyway. So that's basically that's practicecoachgolf.com. And by the way, we will give your listeners use the JD Golf 30. That's
Nice.
the code. That's on the website. You go to the website first, download it. You get it for let's see, it's $50. You get it for $30 a month. And think about
Nice.
that.
Yeah.
For less than a box of golf balls, you have guided practice every practice session. I don't know
Perfect.
how you can beat that.
Yeah, I'll
So
put that in the show notes and make
great,
sure, and in the outro to make sure everybody knows that they can do that. So I appreciate that.
outstanding.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank
you're
you
great
so
at this,
much.
man. You're a brother, and you're great at this, and you're a great coach. I'm psyched to watch Nick continue to develop. That's really cool, man.
Yeah. Thank you. I
All right.
appreciate you, my friend. I'll let you go and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care. Thank
All right,
you.
buddy.